In 2015, Czarface came through with easily a top 3 hip hop album. It would be third for me, T-Pab being number 1, then Live at the Dentist Office being number 2, which is an Injury Reserve mixtape, and then third would have been Every Hero Needs a Villain. A great friggin' album that was clearly inspired by MF Doom's comic book villain character type stuff, and even included MF Doom on the album too, which ended up being one of the best tracks. Just a great album that had an Inspector Deck on all the beats. All the beats were fucking fire. 7L and Esoteric came through with so many clever lyrics and some great hooks on the album too. But for me, I thought that their album a year later, Fistful of Peril, was alright. Didn't really think it was anything too special. Just thought it was a lesser version of what they did on Every Hero Needs a Villain. But now we have a collaboration album with Czarface and MF Doom. Of course, MF Doom being a bit of an inspiration for Czarface, collaborated with them before, obviously thought it might have been a crazy and cool idea just to do a full album together. And it's turned out pretty alright, I guess. I mean, for sure, I've definitely seen a lot of unnecessary hate for this album. I mean, some people are calling it really bad. A lot of people are just completely underwhelmed by everything. But honestly, I don't know why people are saying so much about it in that sense. Because really, the production is still as fantastic as it once was. Although a few tracks, especially at the start of the album, aren't that really exciting with the production. But still, I'd say overall, like, the album sounds good. Like, the rapping is pretty decent. The beats are done well again. But I think it seems as though most people are very disappointed with MF Doom, and I've got to say I'm very disappointed with MF Doom too. I think he's definitely the worst part of this album, which sounds really harsh because he is like a legend and a big inspiration for Czarface, but just, I don't know, man, I think he's sounding really past his prime, honestly. He's so inaudible on some of these tracks, you barely hear what he says, you have to turn up the volume constantly, and when you listen to him, he just doesn't even sound like he's that interested. Like, he sounds like he's just there for the sake of it, and he just is just so low-key on every track, every time he's on. Every time he comes on as a feature, I'm just like, he's slowed the song down way too much. But the thing is, maybe this album wouldn't have been like an amazing album if he wasn't there. I do think some of the tracks, like I said, have some pretty weak beats, especially the second track, which has this kind of like throbbing, like, dun, dun, like, it's just so slow. I just really feel like it needs some kind of momentum. I don't know, man, it just sounds pretty weak to me. Badness of Madness sounds a bit too 90s nostalgic. It just sounds like some East Coast, New York type stuff back in the 90s. That it sounds okay, I guess, but it just isn't really anything I really care too much about. MF Czar is a really repetitive track. This might be my least favourite song because it's like, I don't know, I just don't know what they're going for here. It sounds like it was just the track to sort of exemplify their collaboration, like, MF Czar, we the antidote. MF Czar, we the antidote. It's just like, okay. And I've seen a lot of hype for the track Phantoms, but honestly, apart from Open Mike Eagle's inclusion, which is really good, I don't really have that much interest in this song, honestly. I think that vocal sample with the Phantoms is pretty weak. I think it could have done without that. I don't really think it adds anything to the track. It's just like, it's just like what they were doing on their Every Hero Needs a Villain album, but just worse. Like, it's like a worse version of the hooks that they were able to capture on that album. But other than those critiques, I'd say most of these songs sound sonically really good. I think most of these tracks have quite a bit of bite to them, especially in the production. I do think Inspector Deck does a great job on this album again. The rapping is pretty good. Every now and then there's a line that comes through that's just a bit like, but overall, I guess I'm not really that interested in what they're rapping about. I don't feel like there's a concise topic across each song, which is fine. It doesn't have to be like that. And as I've said, you know, MF Doom just sounds lazy on this album, man. Like, I could honestly go as far as saying that I just don't really want to hear any music from him anymore. Like, I just think that So many great albums like Food, Operation Doomsday, Mad Villainy, of course. Like, all those albums are just so good, and I feel like everything he's released this decade is nowhere near that quality, and I think it's just proof that even on a collaboration album that you'd go into with so much like expectations, so many high hopes, and then he's kind of like the Achilles heel of the whole thing. Like, honestly, every time he comes on the beat, I'm just like, ugh. Like, it just slows every song down. But overall, I do think there is a lot of quality on this album. Bomb Throne, holy shit, the beat on that song, oh, one of the biggest bangers of the year. Like, that beat is just incredible. Esoteric and 7L fit this track so well. I just wish every beat was like as cinematic, as just over the top as this one. It just really fills you with so much. Definitely the best track on the album. Stun Gun as well. Stun Gun is a great track, great beat. It's kind of like the more faster paced type stuff that I prefer them doing. I wish they did more of this on the album. But yeah, these are definitely the highlights for me. Every other track, again, apart from the ones I've mentioned that I don't really like, I would say it's pretty solid overall. I'm not entirely sure if hip-hop's been that great this year. I think there have been some really gems, like hidden gems that have come out. But overall, I think it's had quite a slow start. But Czarface, even though there are a lot of flaws to this album, it's probably up there with one of the better ones in the first quarter of the year, I'd say. Certainly not worthy of all the hate that it's getting, but is overall fairly disappointing considering what could have been with this collaboration. So overall, I still think it's pretty decent. I'm going to say it's a C. Could have been way better. Every Hero Needs a Villain is still way better than this, and MF Doom's input on that one track on that album is better than pretty much everything that he did on this album. So I would just say go to that album, play that one, and skip this one, really, apart from those stellar songs that I mentioned. Let me know your thoughts. I know a lot of people aren't really into this, but I'm sure there'll be people out there that love it. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews, podcasts, interviews, and have a good day.